Hi, I'm Mahani from Story Heart School. I give women business owners simple, actionable storytelling tools to connect and touch your customers and grow your business. In my 12 years in advertising in O&M, J. Walter Thompson, and McCann Erickson, I learned the best way to connect with customers is through emotions. Stories brings out feelings more than any other kind of communication. Storytelling is an essential business tool, and I would like to share with you some of these tools, why it is and why it's essential. My mom was a very young mom when she had me and my three siblings, and all four of us were wild. She did everything she could to rein us in. She bribed us with treats and outings. She threatened us with no television or I'll tell your father. But it wasn't until she started telling us stories that she really got us our attention and our devotion. Her favorite story, the story that got her months of our undivided attention, was called Split Rock, the rock that swallowed mothers. It was a story about a young mom with two kids. These two kids did not listen to their mom, did not love their mom. And one day their mom was at the end of the line. She ran into the forest and called Split Rock. Split Rock split open, swallowed the mother, and the kids never saw the mother again. That's the kind of stories my mom told us. But guess what? For months after that story, we did the dishes, we cleaned our room, we even wore silly dresses when we visited relatives. Children and adults, humans, we are wired for story. Stories are patterns our brain detect, and we use these patterns to understand the world and to connect with others. When you are giving information to your potential customers, this is what the brain activity in your listeners look like. So you engage with the language processing parts of the brain. But when you give information and weave it in a story, this happens in the customer brain. So the language processing parts of the brain are activated. The sensory parts of the brain, when you hear a story, you see what's happening. You hear, you might smell, depending on the story. So by including a story, you engage the sensory parts. And most importantly, stories activate feelings. Stories activate memories. When you hear a story, you put yourself in the story. You remember similar experiences. So when you give your client information in a story, she will co-create the story. She is invested in the story. She will remember the story better. And if she doesn't remember exactly what you told her, she will remember how she feels. Storytelling is an essential business tool. So how do you go about telling a story, telling an effective story? You may have favorite authors, favorite movie makers, and these folks make amazing movies or write amazing books, great stories. Religious leaders tell effective stories. They tell stories to affect how that congregation feel. And this is a storytelling hack that we as marketers need to use. Just like marketers like Google and Apple, that's what those people do. During a sermon, a priest will handpick a story that illuminates the sermon and also brings about the feelings that the priest wants you to feel on that day, whether it is gratitude or whether it is we need to hunker down and work harder. Their stories serve a purpose. And this is the kind of stories that we need. Another story my mom told us, especially after that Split Rock story wore off, my mother told us a story about a young boy who, with his mother's blessing, left his island village home to seek fame and fortune. For years, he traveled far, worked hard, and with luck, he became richer than he could ever dreamed of and married a princess. And he decides to come home. When his mother heard, she was so excited. She put on her best clothes, made his favorite sweet cakes, and goes to meet her son. And when she saw him, "My son, I am so happy to see you. I've missed you so much. I brought you your favorite sweet cakes." When her son saw her, he was just about to rush and hug her when he heard his bride go, "Ew! Who is this filthy old hag? She's not your mother, is she?" And the son did a 180, walked away, left the mother, who went home broken-hearted, looked at the sky and said, "If that man is my son, may the earth crack open and swallow him up." My mother her stories had swallowing up, as you can tell. So there it was on the other side of the island. The earth cracked open, swallowed up the son, and we never see him again. Now, what's interesting about this story is that when I think about it today, I think, what a hard-hearted mother. How could she do that to her son? But as a child, the way my mother told us the story, we were 100% behind her mother. We thought, what an ungrateful son. I would never do that. I will love my mother forever. I am grateful to my mother. She is the best mother in the world. Point is, my mother knew her audience and knew how to affect us. So just like the priest, the rabbi, the imam, the pastor, you have hundreds, if not thousands, of stories to choose from. So think of your customer or your client, have her in mind, have a real client in mind, or make a persona, have her name, what she loves, where she lives, what she does for fun, have that in your mind. Know how you would like her to feel and choose your story. In 2011, Dr. Yuri Hassan a neuroscientist in the Neuroscience Institute in Princeton, did a study where he scanned the brain of a storyteller with five, and at the same time, scanned the brains of five story listeners. As soon as the storyteller starts with a story, all six brain activities sync up. Dr. Hassan calls it they align. And when the storyteller ends and they have a conversation, anything and everything else, brain activities do not match. But in storytelling, the brain activities match. This is a diagram showing one storyteller and three story listeners. But basically, what it shows is that the parts of the brain that is activated in the storyteller as she tells the story matches the parts of the brain in the story listeners. So, when you tell a story, think of the listener, think of how you would like the listener to feel, share your story, and feel the feeling that you would like your customer to feel, and bingo, your story is effective. The important thing is to remember and know who your customers are, what your customer want, and why, so that you can select the stories to affect that. Thank you for listening. I'm Mahani from Story Heart School. I give women business owners actionable storytelling tools to connect and touch your customers and grow your business at storyheartschool.com. Thank you.